it just makes me feel powerless. Seeing that my son is feeling something and I can't get to him to communicate, all I can do is hug him and tell him everything's okay. You're right here with Dad. You know,
Thank you guys for listening to another episode of Daddy Issues. Today, our guest is going to introduce himself and tell us a little bit about his story.
Yes, so my name's Gus. I'm 42 and currently going through what thousands of fathers out there going through, fighting for what should be a given right. To be able to be in your child's life without having anyone, decide for you. It's definitely an experience that really molds you. It takes you to a complete different level when you're on survival mode and you have to put a different face. When your kids, going through the middle of this and inside you're torn into pieces, and when you're with your kids, you forget about everything else. And that's my situation. That's what I am living right now. So
Hey guys, just want to let you know, head on over to patreon.com under Daddy Issues The Truth to help support the podcast and support what we're doing. That's patreon.com under Daddy Issues The Truth. You get a little bit more content over there, stuff that we don't post anywhere else. So if you guys are about it and you want to help support, patreon.com, Daddy Issues The Truth. Thanks, guys. Yeah, you got to kind of put on that fake face for the kids so they don't see your pain or what you're going through. So
exactly, and I think it's important to not transmit that energy, to them, because this is not their fault. You made choices in your life that put you in the situation, and I'm a man of faith, and I believe that God put you, chose this mission for you, and if you follow that path, I think there's light at the end of the tunnel. Like a lot of people like to say.
how long have you been going through this so far?
On and off, it's been, I'll put a date on it, but there was a lot of red flags that I wasn't aware of. I really didn't know what a red flag was, up until May in 2020. There was a lot of passive aggressive insults. A lot of alcohol is the number one factor that has determined why I'm here, right now, this very instant. I was unaware of a lot of things, about manipulating tactics, about emotional blackmail, about financial abuse, emotional abuse. I ignore a lot of things, and since that moment on, we've been going back and forth and getting back together. I go to court for this, and then we reconcile, and then she goes to court, on and off, and that's gotten better, for lack of better words. I don't think better, applies in a lot of other dad situations, but as far as moving forward and just stop with the game,
And are you guys living together?
no, I had to, my story, it's, I can tell you something, and I've completely jumped to a different thing that led to another thing to another thing. So, I got out of the relationship because of domestic violence. One day I was driving and she just punched me. She was in the back seat.
You were just sitting in the passenger seat and she just
No,
hit you? Oh.
I'm driving. She's in the back seat with our son.
Okay.
She got upset because I changed my mind on putting her on my bank account. We were never married. We were engaged, but not married. She got upset because I didn't add her to my bank account. I got a different card for her, but she just wanted to be in my bank account, I now understand why. It was just another tactic of hers, to use against me in court. So she started arguing. Our son was about he was a little bit over 2 years old, and she was in the back seat with him, and we were, like I said, I was driving, and then, bam, my world just changed from that moment. I was in shock. I fell into an emotional crisis that I didn't know what that was either, and I didn't know I was going through it. A few days later, but that led for me to file a restraining order requesting custody of my son because of
Oh wow.
I was trying whenever I would try to. A week later, after that, when she hit me, she went completely crazy on me at 2 a.m. in the morning after I'd been asleep for an hour. She started accusing me of being on my phone, and I was asleep. So I had to leave from that night, and I fled to a different county with my brother. And a few weeks later, I gathered all the evidence. She was getting violent with when I was video chatting with my son, and I could see the how frightened my son was, and I can't continue like this, seeing my son's face like this every time I call him. It was granted. I was given custody of my son.
So you got full custody.
At that moment, yes, it was a temporary custody order, uh, DVTRO. From that moment on, I had to figure it out. I did what I had to do, and my son was with me for a little bit over a year, until court came in and decided to give my son back to her with complete disregard of, like they say, the child's well-being.
Right. So no 50-50. They fully just said the mother has now custody.
Yes, after after I was able to get my own place, full-time dad, nobody was helping me, other than my brother for a minute, and I was taking care of my son, and I got my own place. I put him in school, took him to all his activities, to his therapies, to his doctor appointments, everything. The only time I would miss any of those, it's if he was sick. My son had stability, a home with love, with no violence, with nothing but happiness for him. His toys, everything. We had it good, and they just granted a move away just like that.
It's funny because they always talk about stability of the kids and it's all about the kids and all of that. And to take a child away who he's already established his home, he's already going to school, you're doing all the things as a father should do, and to just kind of rip that child away is mind blowing without even like 50-50. I mean, that's, to me, that's crazy that
Yeah,
they didn't even look at any of it. They just said, that's it.
we can go on hours, man. I kid you not, with
I bet.
details of
Yeah.
how things have happened. The first attorney the first law firm that I hired to represent me, the first time that I saw the attorney that was working on my case was at a court hearing where she showed up with alcohol in her breath. Mind you, she was 30 minutes late, which didn't really affect the hearing because they didn't call our name until the end because ours was confidential. So they leave those, at the end of the cases they call. I confronted the main attorney of that firm, and obviously he defended her. Oh, no, I check every single person in my staff. I'm not going to risk my career for someone like that. Not buying it. So they didn't do anything in my favor, so I got rid of them. And declarations that I would turn into them when they requested it, they would leave parts out. They scan it and recompose it. We don't think this is really helpful, but this is part of my declaration. Why are you cutting it? Legal tactics. Legal tactic not in my favor. The second attorney that I hired, she just ripped me off, straight into it. I caught her in many lies in emails. Last year, she continued my case 5, 6 times maybe, and they were just like playing hot potato. Oh, she did this. Oh, she didn't file that. Oh, I tried to reach out, Your Honor, but they didn't respond. So I'm here asking for another continuance, and every 2 or 3 months, probably less, I need another $5,000 retainer. I need another $5,000 retainer, and a deposition's going to cost you $4,000. Like here and there, and she gained nothing. So with everything that I've learned now, I'm doing it on my own. I'm pro se.
Yeah, that's tough. I know a couple people who did that, but it's just you have to learn a lot of the legal mumble jumble, and you have to be really educated on it. So good for you, because I know that can be very, very tough. But at the same time, you also can't keep shoveling out $5,000 here, $5,000 there, and nothing's happening. So
I've been blessed with my best friend, from high school. He's probably the reason why I still have my place. I'm juggling 2 jobs, and and I'm in debt with him, both in life and financially, because he's believed in me since day one, and he believes in that I'm doing this out of good faith for the best of my son. And if there's one person in this world who's going to not give my way, it's him. He's not gonna just support me just so I can get away with something. He's been really a good mentor in my life as well. So
that's huge to have somebody like that in your life. And it sucks too, because like I don't want to say like thank God you didn't get married, because it's like obviously with the person that you especially have a child with and you see yourself staying with together, but it's like financially wise, and it could have been worse, going through a divorce and getting custody of your child too. So I mean, I guess you kind of, I hate to use the word lucked out, but if there's another word out there for it, yeah, you kind of dodged a bullet on that one.
I think I did, and like I said earlier, there was a lot of things that I ignored, that I really thought that I could be her knight in shining armor. When we first started, we had a lot of things in common. Growing up, kind of like the same lifestyle, liking almost the same things. Uh, just way too much stuff. That I really thought, oh man, this is my soulmate. But as I've been reflecting on the entire relationship these past couple years, I wonder how much of it was real and what part of it was her plan. At what point, if there was any a point, was she with me for good intentions? To actually build a home, a family, raise our kids. She had 4 kids before we had ours. So a lot of people were telling me, dude, what are you doing?
Right. It's tough to listen to those people when, yeah.
When you're blinded by love.
Yep. So do you have custody, 50-50 custody at all now, or are you still fighting just to get 50-50?
I'm fighting for full custody.
Oh, okay.
We had mediation not too long ago. And it's hard to believe and trust in the court system, because as much as you want to think, that law wants to protect you, is there to for the right purpose, statistics show a complete different thing. How crooked, the family law system is, nowadays. During that mediation, this was an older judge, a retired judge, that she only did like mediations before we go to trial. With everything that I've been presenting, she flat out told me, "Do you actually think you're going to get full custody? Things have really gotten your way if you look back, don't you think?" I thought it was a little intimidating.
That would be crazy coming from her. Wow.
Exactly. And I'm like, well, let's just straight up go straight to trial, Your Honor. I don't mean to lose your time because we're obviously not going to get to an agreement. Opposing counsel gave me an offer for custody, which I countered with the exact same thing. "Oh, this is what you want? Interesting, because that's exactly what I want." So we go to mediation. I changed it up a little bit. You know what? And I promise you, I'm not doing this for my benefit. I'm doing this for my son. The day of the conference, the mediation conference, I emailed the opposing attorney and said, "You know what? This is with the thinking of the best for my son, and how we could have like a 50-50 mentality." And that's exactly what I propose. Let's do 50-50. I would prefer that our son mainly resides where I am because of the resources that are available for him. If mom is willing to move all the way over here, I am willing to help her make that move.
Because how far does she live from you now?
We live 3 hours away.
Oh wow. Okay.
And we meet every 2 weeks when I pick him up halfway. So she lives in one county, I live in a different one, and we meet at a different county, middle point, to pick him up. She didn't get to my email on time. I mentioned it during the conference, and I told the judge, I have a new proposal that she didn't get to read on time, but I'm offering, I think 50-50 is in the best interest of our son. No grudges, just good co-parenting mentality. She wants to do whatever she wants with her life, go ahead. But you're not going to take my son, between your legs, dragging him through all your BS that you've been doing throughout all your life and what you put your other kids through.
Yeah, even 50-50 though with school, that would be so hard because you guys are 3 hours apart. So how would that unless she moved back?
Here's the thing, here's a twist. The judge was a little confused because of exactly that point that you just mentioned. And I told the judge, I'll even move if I have to. If she wants to completely discard the possibility of her moving out here. And I told the judge, it's for him, for the resources that are offered in his best interest. But if she doesn't want to move, it is important for me that I am with my son, equal time as her. So I'm willing to move. I don't like it, but I'll do it for my son. The judge asked her, "Oh, is that something you would you would be willing to consider?" I don't like how the judge worded it, because why are you giving her the option? And she just, well, yeah. But then we've had a couple trial hearings after that. And it's kind of like the mediation conference never happened, because I've emailed her attorney with no responses since then, about the 50-50. So in order for this to make a little bit of sense, our son is special needs. And so there is a lot of benefits for her as a single mother. Not to mention she has other kids and she's receiving all those benefits. And she's doing it for the money. That's what's been motivated, to women, for years now. Right now, like I said, we're still heading to trial, and I don't know how many more hearings that's going to take, but I would hate to say if she's seen other men, while we were together, and I don't know how many other men has there been since we last attempted to get together, which it did happen twice after that DVTRO that eventually got dismissed because the burden of proof was not enough. But I guarantee you that if it would have been me on the other side of those videos that I presented, I would be in jail. That's how severe the evidence that I have was. Oh, that's not enough. She threatened me and my son's life. She had to be blocked away from me and my son because she was in a drunken rage, probably even more.
Right. And it's so frustrating because when you have evidence, you prove this and you show the judge and everyone, and you're like, there's no way she can get out of this. And then when they side with her, you're like, how did that just happen? And it's just so frustrating.
Yeah. And my son, he just turned 5. We've been having legal problems since my son was 11 months old. My son's nonverbal, can't communicate. He can't tell you what he's seen. He can't tell you how he feels. He can only express how he feels if he gets frightened because he covers his eyes or his ears. When I see that happen when we're out and about, in places, and he hears other kids screaming and having fun, it triggers him. It just makes me feel powerless. Seeing that my son is feeling something and I can't get to him to communicate, all I can do is hug him and tell him everything's okay. You're right here with Dad. It was my son's birthday 2 weeks ago, and there's a current court order, that I have my son every other weekend. I sent her a message, hey, I would like to spend a few hours with him today on his birthday. And given it's a 3-hour drive, I asked her for 4 hours. She's like, I'm going out of my way. This is not part of the schedule, blah, blah, blah. I can give you 2 hours, and you're going to pick him up at a certain location. From that location to where I want to take him, it's 30 minutes. To bring him back to you to that location is another 30 minutes. So you're technically only giving me an hour. An hour is not enough to buy a pizza, buy a cake,
Right, especially for his birthday.
Especially for his birthday. And it was just going to be me and him, that's it. Nothing that big, but it would have been big enough for him. I wanted to create that memory with him. And then I told her, come on, be reasonable. At least give me 3 hours. I'm going to drive over there. Just give me an extra hour. She didn't like my proposal, and she's like, you know what? Never mind. Let's just stick to the court order. You're not going to see him today.
It's so messed up.
It really bummed me out. It's a hard pill to swallow still, but yeah. I was able to make up for it, the following weekend, if anything, he had an extra birthday celebration, it's about the memories that you create, not the time when you do it. It's as long as you do it.
If you had some advice for some dads out there, what would it be? I'm
going to sound like a broken record because, everybody says it out there on the social media groups, don't give up, fight for your child. It's the time that you spent with them that matters, not when. I know Father's Day was just, a few weeks ago, and it broke my heart to see a lot of fathers there, with their stories. I haven't seen my son in 3 years or my daughter in 4 years, and some of us, are lucky enough to at least see your kid, 4 days out of the month, and for now, that's enough. And I can live with that because I know it's temporary. I have faith in God that there's going to be a good outcome, at our next trial. And tell your kids you love them every time you get to see them, talk to them. I know it's hard. Try to hide that pain from them.
Yeah, I mean, you can see and feel the pain just the way you're speaking and stuff. And it's like the system needs to stop worrying about the profit that they're making and actually make good decisions on what's happening. I mean, you explained in the story, it's like how can no one see what's happening? I mean, they see it, but they're making money off of, letting the moms, have the child and bringing you guys back to court, and everyone's making money, the attorneys, everybody. And,
Oh
you
yeah.
know, that's something that I hope to God, we get enough people on this podcast and just everywhere in general that we're able to change the system somehow, because it is not favored to dads at all. I mean, it is, because it's about profit, it's about money. It's sick.
You have to be the better person. You have to be the better parent. You have to be the better man without having to show to the world those three things. Show your strength by telling your kids they matter, they are important, and that you'll always be there for them.